On October the 20th of 2023, in a courtroom filled with tension in Atlanta, Georgia, Kenneth Chesebro, alleged by Georgia prosecutors to be the hidden mastermind behind a sinister plot, stood and confessed to a spine-chilling felony of forging documents. But this wouldn't just be another courtroom drama. It was a shocking turn that foreshadowed potential unraveling, impacting President Donald Trump's defense, who was also ensnared in the same massive legal storm surrounding the controversial 2020 Georgia election. Chesebro, who had been painted by prosecutors as the puppeteer, was charged for crafting a cunning blueprint for Trump's plan to employ so-called alternate electors, an effort that prosecutors painted as a latch-ditch effort to snatch victory from Joe Biden in 2020. According to prosecutors, as the clock ticked closer to January the 6th, 2021, Chesebro chillingly suggested using electors to put pressure on Congress, a move that potentially added fuel to a growingly unstable situation in D.C. In a jaw-dropping twist, Chesebro's confession marks a gut-wrenching admission of criminal intent among those who are alleged to have conspired together to perform acts that moved from mere advocacy into illegal conduct. Prosecutors on the state level have charged a state-level RICO action, alleging a multi-state conspiracy that they say was hell-bent on hijacking the 2020 election, disregarding law, and sowing doubt over Biden's triumph. Trading his potential prison garb for a whistleblower badge, Chesebro has promised to testify against his once allies and also expressed remorse to the citizens of Georgia. The Chesebro plea, however, was but the second domino to fall in as many days. The first was Sidney Powell, Trump's once fearless legal crusader, who has traded her battle cries of conspiracy for a whispered guilty plea in an Atlanta courtroom. Sidney Powell, labeled as one of the spearheads of Trump's high-stake bid to challenge the 2020 election results with a claim of a kraken of evidence, astonishingly turned tables only a day before Chesebro. In the emotion-filled courtroom of Atlanta, Powell confessed her role, pleading guilty to 6 charges relating to election interference. A plea deal with Georgia prosecutors meant she'd expose secrets in exchange for a deal that would result in no jail time. To properly understand this plea deal, it's helpful to understand how we got to this moment in time. Beginning in November of 2020, Sidney Powell stood alongside Rudy Giuliani and weaved a tangled web of theories involving a staggering ensemble of potential villains, from Venezuela to Cuba to George Soros. In particular, they accused Dominion voting systems of engineering Biden's win through massive election manipulation. However, her lawsuits, which initially promised undeniable proof and a promise to release the Kraken, crumbled under all judicial scrutiny. Many of the lawsuits were laden with glaring errors and even defamatory statements that led in part to a $1 billion lawsuit from Dominion and Smartmatic. These lawsuits would prove successful in part when Dominion settled with Fox News for nearly $800 million for similar defamatory claims. According to prosecutor, Powell had a relentless agenda that persisted, her influence seemingly intoxicating to Trump's inner circle. Reports surfaced of a tension-filled Oval Office meeting in December 2020, with audacious proposals including such things as martial law and even some sort of military intervention that were floated to reverse Biden's win. Amidst this chaos, according to prosecutors, Powell allegedly masterminded another alarming plan in Georgia. Alongside her co-conspirators, including Giuliani and Chesebro, she was charged with a deeply unsettling scheme to undermine public confidence in Georgia elections. According to prosecutors, the shocking climax of her audacity was ultimately manifested in Georgia, where Powell, conspiring with local officials, reportedly tampered with critical election data. Deceit, manipulation, and cover-ups marked a disturbing episode, according to the indictment that Powell pled guilty to. As the trial clock ticked closer, Powell found herself at an increasingly untenable crossroad. Facing the daunting prospect of prison or the fury of Trump's formidable base, she finally made a choice. The once defiant Powell struck a deal, admitted guilt, and agreed to provide damning testimony against Trump if the need arose. Sidney Powell's dramatic reversal marks a pivotal chapter in the ongoing 2020 election aftermath. In a groundbreaking moment for American history, the Georgia RICO case has thrust former President Trump into uncharted legal territory. For the first time ever, a state has criminally charged a former president for his actions that occurred during his time in office, setting the stage for a legal showdown that promises to be nothing short of extraordinary. Trump now stands at the crossroads of a case that brands him as the conductor of a dark symphony aimed at disrupting Georgia's election integrity. His actions, echoing beyond Georgia, have sparked investigations into bustling streets of New York and corridors of Washington, D.C. and Florida. With the testimony of Chesebro and Powell potentially laying bare Trump's inner sanctum, the defensive walls that Trump might seek to put up could come crashing down. The legal landscape is fraught with challenges for both sides in the increasingly high-stake battle as it relates to the charges against Trump. To secure a conviction, the prosecution must meticulously demonstrate, beyond a reasonable doubt, that Trump and his co-defendants harbored a shared intent and purpose to commit crimes that had far-reaching consequences that impacted the election. They faced the daunting task of countering a range of defenses the defendants may seek to employ, including claims of presidential immunity, the shield of freedom of speech, the assertion of executive privilege, and the specter of potential federal preemption. However, the Georgia RICO case transcends mere legal maneuvering. It's a veritable political powder keg. As partisan lines begin to sharpen, Trump's ardent supporters frame this as a relentless witch hunt and sinister coup attempt orchestrated by his adversaries. Meanwhile, critics passionately argue that he poses a genuine threat to democracy and the rule of law, demanding accountability for his actions. The repercussions of the Georgia RICO case will extend far beyond the Georgia courtroom. The outcomes of this case hold a power to reshape the political landscape in the lead up to the 2024 presidential election and beyond, casting a shadow over Trump's potential return to the political arena and ultimately potentially influencing the ultimate verdict at the ballot box, potentially being characterized as election interference in and of itself. The stakes are higher than ever, and the nation watches with bated breath to see how this latest drama will unfold.